Hey, 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 happy Wednesday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, obviously enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. Tonight is Wednesday, May 11th, 2022. This is live stream 785. If this is your first time joining me, let me point out, super casual around here. Just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news. And then we take a look at a game. Now, sometimes it's a board game, sometimes it's an RPG product. Well, tonight, Ruins of Symbaroum Week rocks on as I take a first look and page through Ruins of Symbaroum 5e, the Gamemaster's Guide, which is from Free League Publishing. Now, on Monday's show, we took a look at the Player's Guide. On yesterday's show, we attempted to look at the Gamemaster's Guide, but internet issues derailed the stream. Damn you, Comcast. So we're going to give it another go tonight. See what happens. And, of course, I should mention, if you are tuning in to check out the Gamemaster's Guide for Ruins of Symbaroum 5e, we tackled the tabletop gaming news first, so it'll be about 30 minutes or so before we jump on in. Of course, if you're watching this 30 minutes or more after the stream ends, then there will be timestamps. In fact, depending on what device you utilize, those timestamps might actually be in the timeline of the video. Otherwise, they will be in the show notes for you to click on, and you'll be able to jump right on past the gaming news if you would like. Of course, if you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already, and if you do subscribe, ding that bell. It'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. It'll also let you know when I'm sharing other videos as well, such as my upcoming review of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, The Horned Rat, from my friends over at Cubicle 7 Entertainment. This is the 4th chapter in the Enemy Within Director's Cut. So only one chapter remains after this. So stay tuned. I will be talking about what I think of that adventure chapter. So stay tuned. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you won't find here on the YouTube channel. So you already know the deal. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Lastly, this is a live stream, so that means there's chat available. It's not on screen. One of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay, but I do my best to pay attention to chat. So if you want to say howdy, maybe you've got a question, a comment, by all means, chime in. I will do my best to respond. Should also mention that you must be a subscriber to the channel for at least 48 hours in order to take part in chat. Yet another way that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. So, Helga Ratbones first out the gate tonight. We've got Testy Trekkie, Kathy Evans, and Coco B are with us as well. I do know that the Madman, one of our chat moderators, will not be here this evening. It is his gaming night, so we will not see the Madman, but we'll see. Maybe Flaming Heron shows up, our other chat moderator. 245 Trioxin is with us as well. So Coco Beast says that they're in a session 0, I believe, for Ruins of Symbaroum, and hopefully finished in time for a live view of the GM book. Oh, I get it. Sorry, they're in a session 0, not necessarily of Ruins of Symbaroum, because, okay, so the books we're looking at don't hit stores until August, but it was a successful Kickstarter, and those backers are receiving their books. So people are getting these books. They are arriving, just not for retail yet. Major E is popping on in, saying it's the first time watching live. Their kids and themselves love the show. Normally watch when driving home from school, or rather they watch, I listen. Well, hey, welcome aboard. So the kids watch. So I'll make sure I drop some F-bombs on tonight's show. No, I won't. I won't do that. It does happen from time to time, because I do point out to people that this isn't for kids. I mean, it's for gamers. It doesn't matter what age you are, as long as you understand the content. But this is not aimed at kids. In fact, I had somebody comment on a video one time. This is very recently, and they said, I don't know if your show is for adults or for children. Why? Just because I've got little knickknacks. Yeah, that's a word you don't hear anymore. Little action figures and little stuffed toys just taking up space there with all the games. That makes it for kids? I don't know. I don't know what's confusing. I just don't know. Is it for me? Is it for kids? I don't understand. All righty. So, of course, if you were watching last night was a disaster. It's like, now, I've been doing this so long that things like that happen. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. It's like, I guess we're just not having a show tonight. I'm not going to, bang my head against the wall. But a couple of years ago, I'd have been like, oh, why? What's going on? I don't understand. I mean, I was trying to get the stream to work last night, but we were just dropping so many frames from the video. It was like 65%, so it was super choppy. I think the audio was fine. But so Tessie Trekkie asks, what ended up breaking? It was an internet problem on the upload. So unfortunately, I mean, I don't have a business plan. I just have a residential internet plan with Comcast. And my upload is pretty decent, but for the most part, Comcast really doesn't care about the upload. So on occasion, we get all these lost packets. So basically, it means it's dropping information that's being uploaded. And I ran some drop packet tests last night when we ran into this problem, and it was dropping 35, 45% of the packets. And normally, you should have no loss whatsoever, maybe 0.2%. But no, not 35, 45%. So, but about an hour and a half later, it cleared up and it was back to normal. So I don't know. I have no idea. Kevin says they heard that Comcast sucks. By the way, Kevin R. Smith is with us. Hi, Kevin. Says they've never been in his area, perhaps fortunately. There, it's, 6 one, half dozen of the other. I have never had any sort of great experiences with internet providers. So when I lived out in Arizona, There was I don't know if I don't even know if they're still around. I think they might be gone. But it was Cox, COX. And I used to joke. Now I can't really say it because we know Major E's children watch this show. But there was a certain thing that I was like, yeah, I would use the, I would say, hey, you know, the reason why they call themselves Cox? And throw in a word that Kevin just used, and that was kind of. So Kevin's asking, so is this was this supposed to be last night's stream? Yes. It never got off the ground. You know, the funny thing is, I was in my third news piece when it crapped out. So that was the problem. Flaming Huron's with us. Good to see you, Flaming Huron. He is our other chat moderator. So behave yourselves. So yes, Flaming Huron says, yeah, this is yesterday's stream in essence. Well, you're going to see a good deal of it that I didn't get to yesterday. So Flaming Huron points out, yeah, I just roll with the punches. I do. At this point, you know, what am I going to do, right? Oh my God, it's not as if somebody's paying me to do this, right? It's like, oh no. Oh, now I won't get that check. Nope, not happening. Tain't happening, Dooley. So let's jump on into the news. Because arriving June 1st from Trick or Treat Studios is Trollfest. Here's what I know. For the first time, your band, which so far had mostly played in shady goblin and vampire venues, has been invited to take part in the Great Troll Fest, where you will be the opening act for such big names like the Rolling Gnomes and Snow White and the Dwarves. Seriously, that's the best they could do? They got one kind of punny name and that was it? What about, you know, I don't know, like the Moors instead of the Doors or something? It's like Rolling Gnomes, yeah, haha, Snow White and the Dwarves. In Trollfest, each player manages a rock band in a fantasy universe, recruits the most talented and charismatic musicians, holds concerts in the main city, hires dragons for transport and light shows, and ends up trying to give the best act at the festival. After an initial card draft of band members and action cards, players take turns moving around the map, performing shows, and improving their band composition to score points. Once one player has completed their tour by performing in a certain number of cities, the game ends and the players score additional points based on their final band configuration. Trollfest is a light, fun, and thematic game for friends and family. The game is for 3 to 6 players, ages 8 and up, plays in around an hour, and will carry an MSRP of $59.95 when it rock and rolls its way into stores next month. I like the art style. I think the art style is kind of cool. The premise of this game sounds like it's fun. Here's the only thing that I'm a little curious about from what we're seeing. I don't know if this is a $60 game. It just doesn't seem like I would think this is a $60 game. I would think this is like a $45 game. I don't know. Hey, Flaming Heron says, yeah, it certainly doesn't look worth $60. Yeah, see, that's just kind of how I feel too. Now, I will point out, until, what was it, a couple of weeks ago, that I shared another news piece from Trick or Treat Studios. I had never heard of this company before. And they're actually really well known for, like, horror movie prop kind of stuff and collectibles and things like that. It's actually a very cool website. I was taking a peek. They've got some like life-size Chucky dolls. So pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. 245 Trioxin says 60 is the new 40. Yeah, I think so. On to the next news piece. This July, my friends over at Osprey Games will be releasing a second edition of the popular medieval skirmish level miniatures rules, Lion Rampant. Here's the skinny. An expanded edition of the Origins Award nominated Lion Rampant featuring new rules, scenarios, and sample armies. Take to the battlefield as Richard the Lionheart, Joan of Arc, or William Wallace, or forge your own legend with Lion Rampant. Why did I say? I keep wanting to say Rampart. And it's not Rampart, it is Rampant. I must be losing my mind. Forge your own legend with Lion Rampant, second edition. From the Dark Ages to the 100 Years' War. I thought it was 100 Years' Wars. Maybe I'm wrong. Raids, skirmishes, and clashes between small retinues were a crucial part of warfare, and these dramatic small-scale battles are at the heart of this easy-to-learn but tactically rewarding wargame. Lion Rampant, second edition, is a new, updated version of the hit Osprey Wargame series title, and retains the core gameplay, while also incorporating a wealth of new rules and updates from several years' worth of player feedback and development. Whether they are looking to recreate historical encounters or tell their own stories, the varied scenarios, unit types, and sample lists found in this volume provide everything players need to face each other in quick, exciting, and above all, fun tabletop battles. This second edition of Lion Rampant is expanded to cover the Dark Ages as well as the medieval period, so you have a good excuse to buy more miniatures. I've also added extra scenarios and expanded the campaign ideas, given greater details for terrain, included a chapter of optional rules for more period flavor, and provided some new unit upgrades. The core rules have a few updates, but it's still Lion Rampant as you know it. Something that was very important to me is that any army you raised for the first edition is still playable using this new edition, says Daniel Mercy, game's creator. This 208-page hardcover is going to carry an MSRP of $30 when it arrives on July 21st. Yes, very nice. So, there is also a fantasy edition. It is called Dragon Rampant. I do not know if that is getting a new edition, but there is also a science fiction themed Rampant game, which I believe it's slated for November from Osprey, and it is called Xeno Rampant. So there's that. Do want to point out the images you're seeing of the interior pages, that is from the first edition, because all that's actually available from the second edition is the cover. So I did want to share some images of some minis and stuff like that. Kevin asks, is it a coincidence that the name Lion Rampant also has some resonance in RPG history? I don't know. Is that the original, is that the original title for, isn't he known as RPG Pundit? Doesn't he have a like authentic medieval role-playing game? Was that called Lion Rampant? I don't know. I am not sure. Yeah, the funny thing is, now that Kevin mentions that does kind of ring a bell, but actually further back in the memory banks. So I don't know, Kevin, if you could kind of flesh out what you're talking about there for us, please. How about some role-playing game news? Because Kobold Press has a new Kickstarter currently running. Here's a skinny on the campaign builder, Cities and Towns. From Lankmar to Minas Tirith, from Waterdeep to Zobek and on to King's Landing, cities and towns have always played a pivotal role in fantasy games and stories. Campaign Builder Cities and Towns provides a complete toolkit to create, expand, and enhance the cities and towns in your 5th edition game. Whether you're running an established setting or working with an original or homebrew setting, from guilds to temples and from useful NPCs to wild tables of plots and rumors, Campaign Builder cities and towns strengthens and expands your game's world immediately. In addition to the campaign builder hardcover and PDF editions, this Kickstarter will fund the creation of the Cities and Towns map folio of 10 wet/dry erase battle maps, a Roll20 virtual tabletop edition for digital play that includes those maps and all the monsters and NPCs included with all pledges at no additional charge. This last element marks the first time Roll20 has made it possible to offer to buy a book and get the Roll20 version included free. Yes, you heard that right. Free. So that way you don't pay twice for the same content in different formats. Yes, I know that tends to be a bit of a pisser. Why do you have to do that? There is a short Kickstarter video. It's about a minute and a half from Kobold Press, but it shares a little more detail. So let's take a peek.
Kobold Press presents this year's top 5th edition resource, Create a City for the Ages. Campaign Builder Cities and Towns gives you all the tools you need to create and grow a fantasy tabletop city. From naming a tavern to creating the capital of a vast empire. Start with easy charts and tables for city construction, naming and growth. Discover where to send characters for high magic or low company. Roll for random inspiration or choose from lists of original locations, outrageous rumors, and clever plots. Load up on drop-in city dwellers, new monsters, and guild schemers. Plus, detailed step-by-step rules for creating or improving your own master city magic and the secrets of creating wild fantasy characters for a living, breathing city. Tips and tricks for great NPCs, killer villains, and wildly memorable campaigns. Plus, a complete map folio with classic sewers, town squares, ornate guild halls, and even a harbor. Open the pages of Campaign Builder Cities and Towns and get every flavor of urban fantasy at your fingertips. Back it now to reserve your copy on Kickstarter.
The Kickstarter project for Campaign Builder Cities and Towns has already passed its funding goal. You can reserve a copy of the hardcover with PDF and those Roll20 digital assets for a $44 pledge, or grab just the PDF as well as those Roll20 goodies for a $29 pledge through June 10th. Expected delivery is March 2023. Sweet. I like Kobold Press stuff. Yes. Okay, so I reviewed that one adventure and I was like, it's all right. I was like, it's all right. Wasn't fantastic. It was okay. Scarlet Citadel was all right. I liked Empire Ghouls a lot. I thought that was really awesome. I really did like, and of course, the Guide to Midgard, what is it? Midgard Handbook. It's like, I don't, like 400 pages. That is very cool as well. It is an excellent setting. I like the setting a lot. So, pretty sweet. So here's something that I was kind of curious about, and we'll get into the Lion Rampant in just a second because Kevin has cleared things up for me. I knew that name rang a bell from way back. So I find it interesting that Roll20 is going to provide the digital assets for free with the pledge, and I'm kind of curious if Roll20 is now sitting there thinking, we're going to have to deal with Wizards of the Coast. So, because it won't be long until people are playing their online Dungeons and Dragons on a Wizards of the Coast system. They didn't buy D&D Beyond for nothing. So you're going to see that probably dry up a bit on Roll20. Plus, I am not knocking Roll20. But to me, they seem to be the least, they seem to have the least chrome and flash to the virtual tabletop world. Just kind of bland. But I mean, a lot of people play on it, so I'm not knocking that. And I always thought their prices were ridiculous. It's like, what do you mean I got to pay the same price as if I bought the physical book? It's a digital thing. It's not, substantial. But I thought that was interesting. For the first time ever, you're going to get those Roll20 digital assets included with a pledge for something else. So Flaming Heron points out, well, they do offer add-ons for Fantasy Ground and another that escapes his mind, probably Foundry. There we go. Omanel is with us in chat. Good to see you. Pointing out Foundry was reasonable. I kind of played around a little bit with Foundry. I think Foundry is probably my favorite out of all the virtual tabletops that I've poked into. And Fantasy Grounds actually gave me a lifetime license for their standard, because now they've got the like deluxe, I forget what Unicode or whatever it's called. But previously, before that came out, they gave me a lifetime license to check it out. And I thought, yeah, it's all right. It's okay. It's all right, mama. So once again, check this out. This Kickstarter is going to run through June 10th. I just see Kevin said oh, there we go. Flaming Heron said they had backed the Kickstarter, and Kevin's pointing out that they want to back that Kickstarter. So they saw it on their phone while they were on public Wi-Fi. Yeah, I don't order anything online from any public Wi-Fi. There's a new bundle of holding that's available, and it features the Hero's Journey role-playing game from Barrel Rider Games. Here's what you need to know. Adventurer! This Hero's Journey bundle presents the Hero's Journey 2nd Edition, the Barrel Rider Games tabletop fantasy role-playing game, inspired by timeless folklore. Designed by James N. Spahn, White Star, the Hero's Journey arose from the old-school revival tradition, based on swords and wizardry, and now enhanced in its 2019 2nd Edition, incorporates modern design elements that help create wondrous tales of danger and magic, fairy and friendship. This new offer presents the entire Hero's Journey line. Everything you need to commence your fantastic travels in the dark woods and beyond. For just $12.95, you'll get all 7 titles in the Heroic Collection. The retail value of $57 as DRM-free PDFs, including the complete The Hero's Journey 2nd Edition core rulebook, the Hero's Companion Rules expansion, the standalone companion game Skaldic Sagas, Heroic Journeys in the Viking Age, and the supplements Adventures and Interludes, Hero's Grimoire, and Of Beasts, Brave and True, plus the Hero's Journey narrator's screen. These savings will run through May 18th, and 10% of your payment after gateway fees will be donated to this offer's pandemic-related charity, Direct Relief. I know nothing about this RPG. I know who James N. Spahn is, because he's designed a lot of different stuff. I probably know him best from White Box. And I know the game is released through Gallant Knight Games, I'm pretty sure. But outside of that, I know zero, zilch. But hey, it did get a 2nd edition. And if I remember correctly, I think it was kickstarted for the 2nd edition. So, hey, $13 for 7 PDFs, which is essentially the entire system. That's a pretty sweet deal. That is a pretty sweet deal. So my final news piece, there is currently a role-playing games for reproductive justice bundle over at DriveThruRPG. You can score over $530 in role-playing game PDFs for a $25 donation. So, as DriveThruRPG points out, we organized this bundle in the wake of the leaked opinion from the U.S. Supreme Court seeking to severely curtail the ability for people to seek abortions within the United States. Abortion rights are human rights. All proceeds from this bundle will be donated to the National Network of Abortion Funds, the NNAF. There are some real standouts that I took a peek at that I see is part of this bundle, including the brand new, I'm pretty sure this is brand new, Valor RPG, Unbound, Fever Dreaming Marlinko, Lauren's Song of the Bachelor, and Savage Sisters, which is also very new, and a lot more. In fact, from yesterday's news piece that I had set up, they increased the PDFs that were included by another like $50 in value. So there is a lot in there. I am not here to get political. I am not here to talk about, pro-choice, pro-life, anything like that. I am just sharing a money-saving deal with you if the organization that benefits from it is abhorrent to you, well, then obviously, if you're not going to, go and check it out. But just pointing it out. And I got to point out as well that as far as pro-choice and things like that, if you Google George Carlin and pro-choice, those are kind of my feelings. So you have that. There you go. Without getting, staying in a soapbox or anything like that. All right, that is it for the news tonight. Sweet. Very, very cool. Of course, Omenel says they have Foundry and they like it. Yeah, I peeked around with it. I've got a license for that too. In fact, my friends over at Cubicle 7 Entertainment gave me that. Coco B points out they like Foundry over Roll20. Oh, yeah. I could easily see that. Omenel points out Free League has really supported Foundry and relatively cheap when you buy their physical with the virtual tabletop. Yeah. So there you go. Tessie Trekkie asked, what's everybody's preferred virtual tabletop? And I think she or he is getting the answers there. All righty. Cool deal. Cool deal. All right. Anyway, I was just talking about DriveThruRPG. Don't forget, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit, say, DriveThruRPG or Dungeon Masters Guild, Storytellers Vault, what have you, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads, and that way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. And all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep thegaminggang.com around. And there are a lot of people who do that, so thank you very much. Each and every month, the commissions, affiliate fee, whatever you want to call it, it's 5%. I've mentioned that before. That covers our hosting. And I say it time and time again, we do not have cheapo GoDaddy hosting on thegaminggang.com. You can't pull in over 1 million unique visitors a year on GoDaddy hosting or cheapo hosting either. Also, if you like this video, if you enjoy the channel, if you feel thegaminggang.com is a valuable resource, if you like what we do, you can always buy me a cup of coffee or some soda by going over to paypal.me/thegaminggang and making a small donation. And big thanks to the Madman. Yes, the Madman recently made a donation through the paypal.me. Thank you very kindly. Always appreciated. Viper Dave is in chat with us as well. Nice. Very nice. All right. We've got a lot cooking tonight because we're going to be looking at the Ruins of Symbaroum 5e Gamemasters guide, as well as the screen, the Gamemaster screen, which I got to be honest, off the top of my head, aren't they the lore master? I thought the game master was the lore master in Ruins of Symbaroum. I'm kind of surprised that it's not referred to as lore master on the cover. I don't know. We'll find out. We'll be diving in just a second. Maybe they changed it for Ruins of Symbaroum 5e. I don't know. Anyway, we're going to be diving into that. But first, it's time for a brief intermission.
It's intermission time. Time for refreshment.
Oh, the time is now, the time's here. Now's the time for a bite of cheer. A tasty light where the price is right. Well, look at here, you'll dig this sight. The moment's handy for a piece of candy. Just name your brand, they're all so grand. Hey, what do you think of a nice cool drink? Or a big box filled with a popcorn thrill? Let your taste buds meet with an ice cream treat. Refresh yourselves, it's time to eat. So come on, folks, let's join the band as we all head for the refreshment stand.
Crisp, flavorful fish sandwiches, golden brown and crunchy outside, and tender and juicy inside for a snack or a meal.
I'm Rodeo Joe, big star of the show. Oh, I'm strong and I'm spry, yippee-yay, yippee-yi, 'cause I drink T-O-D-D-Y.
Yes, Toddy, the chocolate malt in a can that tastes as good or better than the kind you get at your favorite soda fountain. Made with rich, real milk, not powdered milk.
Man, oh man, it's toddy for me.
Me too.
Me 3.
Yes, cold or hot, it hits the spot. So toddle to the bar, take it back to the car, get that chocolate malted toddy. Toddy pleases everybody.
Mmm, delicious.
And now, on with the show.
Make mine a toddy. Me too. Me 3. Surprise guy doesn't say, "Who asked you, kid? Shut up. Don't speak unless you're spoken to." What was up with that soda jerk? He gives the kid, like, suddenly gives him this, like, oddball look, like, Omenhouse pointing out the fish sandwiches did not appear appetizing. We noticed that a lot of these drive-in commercials, the food looks god-awful. Especially the hot dogs, especially when they've got relish on them. And I'm not a relish fan anyway. But it's usually like mustard with relish on it. It's like, oh. All right, Major E had to rock on out. I guess they're going to catch the rest of the show on the way home from school with the kids tomorrow. So Omenel asked, should we start rating these intermissions based on how hungry they make us? No, not really. Don't need to do that. All right, tonight we are going to dive on in and take a first look at Ruins of Symbaroum for 5e, the Gamemaster's Guide from Free League Publishing. It's written by Matthias Janssen. I'm going to say it's Hake. I said hockey last time. I don't think it's hockey. I believe it's probably Hake. Matthias Lilji and Jacob Rogers, with artwork provided by Martin Grip and Gustav Eklund. The 200-page hardcover is going to carry an MSRP of $44.99 when it arrives in August. Helga points out, relish is an oxymoron. Yes, and if you put relish on anything, you are a moron. I'm kidding. People can eat whatever they want. It's all right. Mel says the pizzas and barbecue ones usually look good. There is actually a little pizza one where they show the pizza, and I'm like, wow, that actually looks like edible pizza. Alrighty, so let's swing on over to the other camera because here I've got the Game Master's Guide for Ruins of Symbaroum for 5e. Those of you, if you are not in the know, Free League Publishing has ported over the Symbaroum role-playing game system to 5th edition. So, and this uses the open game license as well as the SRD. So we were talking about this on Monday's show. We would have talked about this on yesterday's show if there had been a show yesterday. I'm really curious about the actual core rules because in the player's handbook or player's guide, I forget which it was called, there were no rules outside of character creation and feats and archetypes and things like of that nature. And I think this is the same way. I don't think there's actually, I mean, there's going to be new rules, obviously enough, but I think you have to use the SRD. Time to prep and plan. Have your players uncover the secrets of Thistlehold, Indaros, and Carvosti, or develop your own adventure sites in the Symbaroum setting. Send the player characters into the forest of Davakar on treasure hunts, holy missions, or to establish an outpost while facing pre-planned or randomly generated challenges. Determine what type of rewards to bestow on the adventurers, be it traditional treasure, mystical artifacts, new feats, pacts with creatures or factions, or even a domain of their own to govern. That's right, a little domain play. The Symbaroum setting can be the staging ground for many kinds of adventures, and this book helps you make the world your own. Once again, if you were not watching Monday's stream and you are not overly familiar with Symbaroum, do want to point out that this is kind of a dark fairy tale realm. It is not high fantasy. It is not grim dark either, although it is a dark fantasy setting. And it is a really unique and interesting setting. It draws a lot from folklore, and I believe it's more along the lines of Nordic folklore. But I mean, there's some creatures that I've run across in Symbaroum that are straight out of Irish folklore. So I'm like, could be a mixture of different things. So a few things I do want to point out before we jump on in. First of all, the fine folks over at Free League Publishing were kind enough to provide me with this review copy, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any sort of compensation on top of that for me to share this coverage with you. And I say it all the time. Some people don't believe it, but these days it's important for you to know that. Also, I'm going to stay up here like always, so I'm going to be picture in picture. I'm going to be cutting off a little bit of the upper left as we peek through. And of course, we're not going to look at each and every page, but I do want to give you a good feel for what is in the Game Master's Guide and kind of tackle some things about the setting as well. So it looks like we get an example adventure, an introductory adventure. So we've got some Game Master guidelines. We've got discussion about the world. We've got expeditions into Davakar. So it's talking about the forest itself, setting and adventure design. And we've got new and optional rules. And we're going to jump on in. It should be the simplest of excursions, but the expedition to the ruins of old Audubon ended in disaster. There you go. Excellent. Kevin points out, Free League likes Irish stuff. They've been kickstarting an expansion for Wasson and the British Isles. Yes, I tackled that. I shared a news piece on that not too long ago. Talking about running the game. Making the adventure your own, understanding the enemy, review the last game session. I got to be honest, I don't really do that much. When I'm running stuff, I don't necessarily do a recap of what happened previously. I kind of set the scene once again. And if anybody has a question about, hey, what was XYZ or ABC, then of course we tackle that. But I don't review previous sessions when we sit down and start playing again. Kind of curious if you do that out there as well, or if you kind of assume your players know what's going on. I have to point out, though, I have lucked out because over the years, my players took pretty good notes. It helps when, you're playing Call of Cthulhu, obviously, that you take notes. Okay. So, just some breakdowns of what's going on. Leave evil unexplained. I love that. I love that right there. That is my approach to, it doesn't matter what role-playing game system it is. I do not explain anything. So if players have missed something, then they missed it. I'm not going to sit there and go, oh, well, the reason why this happened was this. Nope. And I've done that from the beginning. Plus, once again, if you're not familiar, I've been running Call of Cthulhu for like 40 years. So that also kind of leaves that mystery still there. I still have friends of mine who ask, hey, you remember XYZ adventure? Come on, man. What was really going on with that? And I'm like, nope, I'm not telling you. Thankfully, I remember. So, talking about Gamemaster techniques. Deus Ex Machina, in medias res, interludes, arch enemies, narrative. So we're getting into kind of a breakdown of, difficulty checks, ability checks, saving throws, talking about employing the rules. This chapter takes a closer look at how to use the game rules when planning for and running games in Ruins of Symbaroum. So yeah, it does look like you need to have either the Player's Handbook and Dungeon Master's Guide for 5th edition, or be utilizing the 5e SRD. So kind of give you an idea. Wisdom reflects how attuned you are to the world around you and represents perceptiveness and intuition. So wisdom checks could be used for calming or controlling an animal handling, determining true intentions, insight, discern the undead from the dead. I think they're undead if they're moving towards you, crying out for brains. I don't know. It's just me, I would think. Spot, hear, or otherwise notice something, perception. Track, hunt, or lead a group in the wilderness, survival. And of course, you can see some pretty cool artwork as well. Omenal's calling it a night. Thanks for swinging by. We will see you next week, hopefully. Enjoy the weekend, Omenal. Now, the rest of the week and the weekend, I should point out. Flaming Heron says they're glad they can remember what happened 5 minutes ago. Always a struggle to remember exactly what happened in previous games unless they're the GM. Yeah, I would think that. I would think as a player, I would think as a player, sometimes you're probably more wrapped up in what your character did as opposed to what the group did in the adventure. All right, so now we get into the world of Symbaroum. We're going to talk about some of the establishments, the city. Well, they're not really cities, they're towns, because this is a setting where the big battle against evil took place and humanity won, but at a great cost. So these are some locations that are on the edge of the massive primordial forest Davakar. Sindaros is, if I remember right, I think Indaros was actually built on the ruins of another city. So just kind of giving you some important locations in these settlements, some important NPCs as well. So now we're going to see under, above, and beyond. So we've got the underworld. So this is a I'm a big fan of the mythology of changelings. Of course, once again, that was something I know. There's all different cultures have that sort of fairy tale or folklore, but I know it's also a big Irish thing. And the changelings come and they steal babies and they replace them with changelings. So the changelings grow up in our world and the children grow up in the world of Fae. And I find that very, very interesting. And that actually is a big deal in Symbaroum. In fact, one of the kind of like character races is an abducted human who's returned from the land of Fae. So, a bit of a discussion about the underworld, the skies. Now we get into Davokar. So now, Davokar is this just really super dense forest, and most of it is uncharted. A vast majority of it is uncharted. So one of the types of adventures that can take place is with the player characters mounting expeditions into the forest. So, and of course, they're going to run across all types of demi-humans, fae, monsters, other creatures. So right here, planning an expedition. So that could be a campaign just in itself. We've got events. So we've got D100 table of curiosities. Got some random terrain, mystical treasure, ruin details. That's something else that your player characters are going to find within the forest of Davokar, are ancient ruins. A lot of people really, really dig this setting. This setting, once again, in my opinion, is pretty unique, and it is really aimed towards people who like dark fairy tales. It really, really is. If you're looking for, elves and half elves and dwarves and halflings and tiefling and character classes of like the bard or monk, you're not going to find that in Ruins of Symbaroum. This is a bit more gritty than you would see in your standard 5e D&D setting. So now we get into some adventure design, talking about further reading. So let's see what we have. Method of building. Oh, that's just social structures. I thought it was going to say, hey, you should read these books. It'll give you some dark fairy tales and stuff like that. But I guess, no, that's not it. So it looks like that was more game design. So we got adventures and landscapes. That art was very cool. I have seen much of the artwork is from Symbaroum, but you're not going to see too many people have, a crossover where they have both Symbaroum and Ruins of Symbaroum. It's talking about the first adventure, establishing the plot, antagonists, foreshadow the grand. That is something I think as a game master, too many game masters don't do. They don't foreshadow. And you'd be amazed at how excited your players get when you've properly foreshadowed. You haven't laid everything out. You haven't ruined any surprises. But you'll be amazed at how excited your players get when they're like, oh man, We were talking about that. We knew that was coming. Oh, they're all slapping each other on the back or slapping themselves on the backs. Yeah, you'd be amazed at how much mileage you get out of a little bit of foreshadowing. So we have thematic variation, turning points, world developments, climax of the chronicle, keep it simple, epic scenery, considerable risk. Now we get into rewards and magical treasures. I will mention I'm a little surprised that the page count to the Game Master's Guide is like 36 pages less than the Player's Guide, Player's Handbook. Like I said, don't recall off the top of my head which it was. Do I have it sitting right here? Let's take a look. It is the Player's Guide. Yes, it's buried under some other stuff. Yes, I've pointed out before. If you was it live stream 500 that I took people a little behind the scenes of the Duct Tape Studios? Yeah, there tends to be a lot of stacks of stuff around here. All right, so we got greater artifacts. So here we have just different, looks like different magic items. Flaming is behind the magic. Yeah, if you want to call it that. All right, so we got quite a lot of magical gear and artifacts. Here are new and optional rules. So I would take a guess. We're going to see some optional rules about maybe making it easier for characters to die. Because in Dungeons and Dragons, it's relatively tough for the player characters to do a total party kill is nigh impossible. Unless you're a jerk dungeon master, then it's super easy. It doesn't matter. But if you're playing within the rules and the dice are rolling, as dice normally will, it's pretty tough to wipe everybody out. That should not be the case with Symbaroum. Symbaroum is the forest of Davkar is a dark and dangerous place that many explorers set off into, never to return. So we have advanced traps. Treasures hidden in the ruins of Davkar are often guarded by advanced machinery. Many tombs and treasure chambers of Embrian nobles are also fitted with deadly traps. Passing them undetected and unharmed is a challenge worthy of even the most experienced treasure hunter. So traps as challenges. I love this. Because that is one of the things that I find, I personally think 5th edition D&D and, let's be honest, 2nd edition Pathfinder kind of dropped the ball on is with traps and devices. Whereas in the old school vein of things, a lot of times the game master would describe what the thief or whoever was going to try to kind of deactivate the trap, what have you. And they would have to kind of come up with what they were doing, and then they got to roll. And nowadays it's just, I'm just rolling dice. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what the trap is. I'm just rolling dice to see if I succeed. So it looks like that is different here. So it looks like we have different kinds of traps, mechanical traps, ceremonies. So these are magic rituals. Chases. So we have some chase rules. Here's our domain play. We got a few pages devoted to that. That's cool. Mercenaries. Pact making. Social challenges. There are definitely tensions between the game world's various factions and their leaders. Their relationships range from strained to downright hostile. In one way or another, the player characters and their actions will almost certainly affect and be affected by these tensions. Scheming. Then we get into a little bit of a breakdown of the people of Ambria and Davokar. Troop play. I have never experienced troop play. I don't know. I'm not sure if I would enjoy it or not. War and battles. There we go. Pitched battles. Okay, so get some background about the Imbrian Wars. And then we're going to have our introductory adventure. This scenario is it's Blight Night. This scenario is intended to function as an example of how a small adventure landscapes in Ruins of Symbaroum can be designed, following the guidelines presented on page 108. Of course, it is also an adventure landscape that can be played, for instance, right after the Promised Land, the introductory adventure featured in the Quick Start PDF, which can be downloaded for free from the Free League web store. Yes, I mentioned that as well on Monday's show. There is a free quick start for Ruins of Symbaroum. You can grab it over at DriveThruRPG. You can also get it from Free League. And it's kind of interesting because it is the only release for Ruins of Symbaroum over on DriveThruRPG. So that's kind of funny. So Flaming Heron says, nice to see a lot besides just combat. That always worries me with games using 5e. As you can see from this, as well as when we were taking a look at the player's guide, there wasn't a lot of emphasis on combat. Of course, combat takes place. Combat, once again, should be deadly, much deadlier than in 5e. I do know in Symbaroum that's the case. Symbaroum characters are not, superheroes starting out at first level. Okay, so then we get some additional info as well. Oh, this is Aftermath. Okay, so this is from the introductory adventure. Because I saw drugs and artifacts, I was like, oh, is that just some more optional rules or something? But I guess that's from the adventure. All right, we get an index, and we get some detailed trackers for factions. Kind of surprised we don't have a little domain kind of like sheet. Sweet, very nice. So that is the Game Master's Guide for Ruins of Symbaroum. Now, let's take a peek here at the Game Master screen, which I believe also has, I think there's an adventure in here, or a couple of, or adventure landscapes, I guess I should say. Yep, in fact, that's the booklet right here. So this is, there's our open game license info. So this is the screen. So it is a landscape screen, as we can see here. So we have difficulty class ranges, settlement types, level of risk, days of the week, expenses, months of the year, lifestyle expenses, marks of corruption, short rest, long rest, and extended rest, modes of travel, enemies in Davokar, terrain in Davokar, encounters in Davokar, ruins in Davokar, and then we have our conditions. So as you can see, not a ton of focus on combat charts here. So Kevin asked, but didn't they include deadlier combat rules? Not a problem if you've got the Dungeon Master's Guide, which provides a bunch of deadlier rules. But it could be for people using the SRD. I know we had some optional rules, but but I could have swore it was the player's guide that seemed to have had combat rules in it. Because looking through the Game Master's guide, it didn't look like we had much by way of combat or like, you know, running the game. So I was going to say, running the game seemed to be the focus. Running adventures, creating adventures, and the setting seemed to be the focus. So we have Where Darkness Dwells in the Gathering Storm. Where Darkness Dwells is a simple yet hopefully entertaining adventure landscape designed to be played by a group of newcomers to the game world of Ruins of Symbaroum. There are no tricky puzzles or conundrums to figure out, and the threats encountered are not very challenging. All in all, a beginner game master and players should be able to focus on learning the setting and the rules, while the player characters start exploring the world and, hopefully, wind up with both new insights and treasure. All right. So here are adversaries and their stat blocks. Then we have the Gathering Storm, which is for levels 3 to 4. So now, a little bit of experience. It says the Gathering Storm is a miniature adventure landscape intended to be played after Where Darkness Dwells. However, the two are standalone, and this adventure could be used in conjunction with the Promised Land. That's that free adventure in the Quick Start. And Blight Knight, which of course we just saw is in the Dungeon Masters, or I should say Game Masters guide. So we get an introduction. So this looks fairly short. Oh, there you go. It's a wizard's tower. Always got to love wizard towers. So one of the creators of Ruins of Symbaroum has joined us in chat. Jacob Rogers, or as, who was it? Was it Omenal on Monday when I was like, oh my God, I am butchering these names. And I was like, oh, thank goodness we have Jacob Rogers. I can pronounce that name. And I want to say, I thought it was Omenal who said, well, maybe it's pronounced Jacob. So Jacob points out the rules for rests, short, long, extended, are different than 5e standards. Only an extended rest, 24 hours or more in a safe place, allows you to get all your hit points back. Nice. Yeah, that's one of the things where 5e kind of loses it a little bit for me as far as, because remember, I grew up old school, right? So I tend to, gravitate more towards, AD&D, stuff like that. But it's kind of like, how much of a challenge is it if every half hour of gameplay, your player characters can just camp and get a ton of hit points back, if not all of them, all their spells, everything else. One of the big factors of Dungeons and Dragons was always your resource management, which kind of goes right out the window with most 5e games. All right, so we've got just a couple of adventures that come with the screen. Very nice. I got to be honest, off the top of my head, I am not sure what the MSRP of the Game Master screen and the 2 adventure packet is. I'm going to take a guess, maybe $19.99. So, sweet. Very nice. Like I said before, I really think Symbaroum is a very, very cool setting. And I know a lot of people have been looking forward to getting their hands on Ruins of Symbaroum. Of course, as I mentioned before, the retail books are supposed to arrive in August. Those who back the Kickstarter are getting their books already. So Kevin says it's nice to have something between 5e raw and the optional rules in the Dungeon Master's Guide, which I feel go a little too far in the gritty direction for him. And the Call of Cthulhu Keeper's Pack is about the only other time that they have seen multiple adventures with the Game Master screen. Hey, you got to admit, Chaosium gives you a good value for your money most of the time. It's like the starter set for Call of Cthulhu is insane. It is insanely good. All right, once again, this is Ruins of Symbaroum 4-5E, the Gamemasters Guide. The 200-page hardcover is going to carry an MSRP of $44.99 when it arrives in August. One of the things I was mentioning, I was kind of surprised it's got 36 pages less than the Player's Guide, but the same MSRP. Like I said, a little surprised by that. All right. Anyway, of course, I will have a review of the Gamemaster Guide in the near future. It will certainly be out before these books hit stores. So today we were actually supposed to be looking at the bestiary, but because we did not have a stream yesterday, we tried. We tried. I think it was 5 starts and stops. So I will actually have a standalone video later this week of the bestiary. I'll peek at the bestiary and show you what is inside. Now, it won't be tomorrow because I am heading downtown to Chicago for more dental nonsense. And then tomorrow happens to be my brother's birthday. So I will be celebrating that. He's my older brother, and he's not super happy about birthdays anymore. I mean, come on, big deal. And I was just over there for Mother's Day to celebrate with my mom and my brother's wife. And I told my brother, I said, hey, come on, it's your birthday. Just another year closer to that sweet, sweet release of death. And he just started laughing. All righty. So that is it for this time out. Of course, I should point out on next week's shows, we are going to be taking a look at Goblin Firework Fight. Yes, this is a new Pathfinder party game that is arriving. I am supposed to have Monsters and Meeples, or is it Meeples and Monsters from AEG? Although it might be lost in the mail because it was supposed to be delivered on Monday, and it shows that it got to like our local distribution center for the mail, and nothing in 2 days. Now it just says, oh, it's late, which is usually an indication that they've lost it. So there's that. So we'll have some goodies next week. Have no fear. All right. Anyway, those of you who watched live, thank you very kindly. Always appreciate that. And of course, if you took part in chat, even bigger thanks. You get extra experience points for that. Man, I'm telling you, all of you are so close to getting a level 3. It's amazing. But of course, I know a lot of people out there don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. I just really want to say thank you for taking time out of your busy life to watch any of the videos on the Gaming Gang channel. Of course, if you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, ding that bell. It'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. Central right here on YouTube. It also lets you know when I upload other videos, such as my upcoming look at the Ruins of Symbaroum 5e Bestiary from Free League Publishing. And of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you don't find here on the YouTube channel. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Everybody enjoy the rest of your week. Have a wonderful weekend. I will be back on Monday, the 16th. And of course, as always, here's hoping each and every one of you gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang. Oh, hey, you're still here. Well, if that's the case, by all means, subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel by clicking right here. Check out the latest episode of the Gaming Gang Dispatch, or find out what YouTube recommends you check out from the channel. And of course, once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thanks for watching.